Today we're going to be going over 3 budget samplers that are under $200. The Vocus sample from Chord, the PO33 from Change Engineering, and the Mouseto Microready from Mouseto. I cannot do a straight face while saying that, because it's the company name in the product. Why would you be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the company name in the, I'm actually going to see if it's on the thing. Hold up. Well, I can't because they put a van sticker on the back, but okay, goes pretty hard. Oh yeah, this is how small the Microready is. It's really small. These are all really small devices. So we're gonna be going over them, and we'll be going over what it's good at, what it's not good at, and why am I holding this? I don't know, I'm just holding it. Let's actually get started with the video. The Chord Vocus sample, price range can go from the really low of 130 to even like to 180. I've seen people sell this for like 180. This is the 2nd generation model, which is the one that Chord is selling you because they don't make the original anymore. To best explain how this works, let's modify our sample. Speed. You have a start in place. You have attack. Okay. And we have a step mode, which we can step in our track. And also we have our model cycles doing drums, which is synced over our MIDI chord right here. So we have our basic sample controls like speed, our start endpoint, and our length. We have also a low pass filter, which gets at the really crunchy part of our samples. This sampler there are 2 main cons with this sampler, and that are your limitations of the sampler's internal memory. The internal memory of this thing is not that good, okay? Even on the 2nd gen, which is what I own, the sample's memory is very iffy. I think it's like 4 gigabytes or something. I don't know. Put something on the screen that tells you what it is. But if you really like that crunchy sound, it's nice. And for the form factor of they're actually not that many. Okay, you know what? Form factor. If you're on a Nintendo Switch, here's a Switch. Yeah, it's small. So, what sets this apart from other hardware samplers is just, it gives you the most functionality for about under $200. But what also it's really good at is this feature, which I love. It's called loop mode. So it loops your sample for a certain allotted amount of time. So if you want just one part of your sample to be played over and over and over again, this is why loop mode is nice. And you can do that with, say, motion sequencing, which is on every single Voga, by the way. another con of this is that you cannot directly sample onto this. Yeah, it's a sampler, and you cannot directly sample onto this. What we're talking about here is the very annoying but weird decision Chord made of needing to use a weirdly kind of almost outdated way of like putting sample. I mean, you can use some software, but it's not that good. Like, I'm talking like you need a Windows machine, which some people might be like, oh, I already have a Windows computer. But if you're a Mac user, you kind of have to either go to, your local library and hopefully find a Windows computer there, even if they still do that. Or if you're lucky enough, if you have like a family-owned computer that you've had for years, that also is Windows, might be your saving grace, which is what I use to get my samples onto this thing. Now, to really show you the low fidelity of this, you need how crunchy that is with just the treble. So, it's a very low sampler, but yeah. Now, the ports on this are USB MIDI sync, so that's why I'm syncing. So it's perfectly synced with the cycles. So if I stop it, it stops it. We have in jack, out jack, which is meant to sync other Volcas and POs. And we just have our main output, which is in 3.5, which is a bit annoying, but it's fine if you have one of these converters. So, this is the most bang for your buck. There's a little bit of problems, but if this is your first foray into hardware, get this. If you have a Windows machine and you're fine with using a kind of clunky software editor, go for it. I'm gonna give this good sample rating. It's a 7 out of 10. And let's go on to our next sampler, the PO33 from Teenage Engineering. This is the PO33, and it's extremely small. And it has one advantage over the Volca, and that is you can sample directly into it. And the rest is kind of subpar. So, it has about 40 seconds of sample memory, and I'm not joking. 40 seconds. So we can do it with samples. Pitch it up and down, of course, Filter it. Trim it. And you can, of course, step it into our little sequencer. And this is much more live performance oriented than the Volca. And it has these little punching effects, which really only Pocket Outfitters and stuff like Teenage Engineering has. So you can get much more performability out of this than, say, your Volca, but your main downside is, well, first of all, the size of your fingers. This is what it looks like without the case. It looks even dumber without the case. It looks like an actual calculator, and I'm not joking. So, the main cons with this are the small sample memory and it's just it's overpriced for what you're getting. This thing goes for $90. $90. $90. That's ridiculous. I know, but it's a bit more hi-fi than the book is, surprisingly. But the main downside is just the sound is extreme. Just you have to really think outside the box to sample on this, but it's kind of interesting what you can do with just 40 seconds of sample memory and like a drum beat. And I've seen people do really cool stuff with this. I like using this to really just get ideas out there before I turn it into something. I don't use this thing as kind of like atmosphere. So this is great if you really want. If you say you don't want a super heavy duty sampler and you already have, say, another sampler on you. I already have 4. Yes, I have 4 samplers. This is one of them. This is a nice day as just a little extra sampling out of your setup. I will rate this a good 8 out of 10 just because there's no annoying buggy program you have to go through to sample on this, like the Volca. So that's my review on the PF33KO. And these all have mini jack outs, which sounds pretty annoying, but I have other one of these converters. Our next sampler is going to be the Mouseto Microready. This is the Mouseto Microready, and this thing is kind of a mix. It's a very, very unique sampler, as in it's much more like an instrument than, say, a sampler. You only have 2 pages, and it's very easy to understand. You have a speed, you have a tag to K if you want to control this over MIDI, and you have a bit fetch. It gets very harsh. Where it really shines is these knobs on the blue page. These knobs, we have our grain size. Our grain shift speed. And our start endpoint of where our grain can go. Now this is supposedly a granular synthesizer, but it doesn't really sound like a granular synthesizer. You can get some very granular stuff out of it. But it's a complete and utter glitchy sample maker. You get all these pops and cuts and clicks. There's no window on the end of the sound. You can get really crunchy if you have to lo-fi it. When I'm talking about using this like instrument, it's using the knobs to create, playing with mainly the length and our grain shift speed, and just playing with all our knobs until we get this total sample manger. Downsides for this is there's no filter, and it's very easy to get just very distorted sounds on this, which I don't even know if it's intentional or not. But right now it's on sale. That's looking nice. I made a whole video on how I use this. But this is a very much more performative instrument. It feels more like you're playing an instrument than sequencing something, because there's no sequencer on this, which you might say is bad, but there's a certain way of working with this, which takes some time to get accustomed to, but it's very, very nice. It's really good. This is really good with non-rhythmic stuff. So ambient work is really good on this. Like melodic stuff can get really, really funky. They can get very crunchy sounds. And sound nice. Through a delay. So, now of course, this somehow has a weirdly unlimited sample memory. If you sample just directly through this, I have not had a single problem with the amount of stuff you can use sample on this. It is, I think I've sampled up to about 41 banks of 6. I can do the math, but you know what? I'll just put it on screen and how many things I can sample and how many things you can sample, because there are about 99 banks on this. Yeah. So, if you really want that crunchy, lo-fi, granular stuff, get this. If you want a traditional sampler, it's not traditional at all, and you should really go for more of a traditional option. But this is a nice option if you're really into glitch music, or micro house, or clicks and cuts, and you really want just or you just want much more of a performative way of sampling. So buy this. Now, if you're wondering which one that you should get, I would say the Chord Vocals sample, as in it's very versatile and nice. Now, of course, I'm not gonna say this. Buy it immediately right now. I'm not gonna say that, because let's be honest here. I don't think anyone would like someone to come up to them and be like, buy this one, because yeah, like, that's not how it works, okay? If you really want to ask me a question, I'm active on Discord, which is where I'm mostly active. Instagram, I'm also pretty active, so any of those two places, if you want to ask me questions about synthesizers, I'm active. And then I'll send you some of the worst units you've ever seen. So, I did that just to add a sense of conclusion to the video, and I hope you have a nice day.